sitting at Dunks, 3 a.m. All the donuts are made, and we're just puffing bowls and shit.
Now, did you ever try smoking out of an actual donut?
There needs to be a donut pipe.
Yo, have you ever seen those donut glass pieces around the state of Maine? I know you have.
Like the strawberry frosted one that you and I just ate.
So good.
I mean, frigate, we'll say it, Dunkin'.
So good.
The strawberry frosted, large black coffee. It was phenomenal. But yes, I have seen those glass donut pieces. They're fantastic.
So interesting, and like they stand out. Everywhere you go, they stand out.
Well, everybody knows them, and they're all over the place. I've seen them in shops in Las Vegas. I've seen them in shops in California.
Wow.
I mean, those things are absolutely phenomenal. We should figure out a way to get in there. But this guy, he doesn't take a break. He never takes a day off. He's always working.
Well, like 3-4 years ago, I would take like the month of July or the second half of June and July off and just not work.
Right.
And then, we travel around and do that sort of thing, and it's fun. But like ultimately, you know what I mean? I'm like, shit, my orders are literally just building up. And people like, someone wants something for Christmas, they hit me up in November and they're like, hey, we need this for the Christmas rush. And I'm like, oh, I'm still 4 months out. Like you had to hit me up in fucking June.
Yeah.
And I hate to be that guy. You know what I mean? And no matter how much I work, I can't chisel away at it.
Right?
It just stays like,
And it's a good problem to have.
It's amazing. I'm so thankful. And I worry that like someday that list won't be there. So I want to keep feeding it, keep them happy. So, I mean, I think you have to feed the stores for them to be able to sell it, for them to be able to buy more.
Right.
And you have to, if it's not on the shelves, customers, collectors they won't expect to see it. They won't want it. There's something to that availability where if you see it, you're like, oh, that's something I would like.
Right.
Whereas if they run out and they don't have them for 7 months, it might just be out of sight, out of mind. And then you're like,
and they're going to go to the second
go to the next
option.
one. Yeah. And there's so many talented artists out there. That's why it's amazing that people that like I even am, as in demand as I am, because there's so many talented glass artists.
But how many of them have a niche like you do?
I mean, everyone does something like the majority of people do something really fucking cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, I don't know.
How did you find yours?
My whole thing really stemmed from working at Dunkin' Donuts over here and some other donut bakeries making donuts. And,
And so, like, that was your job, or like you woke up and was like, I love donuts?
No, definitely not. So when I moved to Maine, I think I would like 18, trade those for food. Just turned 18 at the Wake and Bakery.
From where?
From Syracuse, or Liverpool, New York, right outside of Syracuse. That's where I grew up. And I used to get in a lot of trouble growing up, and a lot of issues, run-ins with the law and stuff.
Like all of us entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it's just I was going this way and they wanted me to go that way. And
sometimes you have to learn the rules on your own. Totally get it.
You got to play the game. But I'd gotten in a little trouble and I was on probation for a couple years when I was like 16, just doing stupid kid shit. And I had like 5 years probation. And so I turned 18 and I had met a girl who lived in Maine. Over the internet, like some fish chat rooms.
Sure.
And so I go to my probation officer. I was like, "Yo, if I move to Maine, can we transfer it there?" And they're like, "You're going to move to Maine and stay there." And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You can just go. Like, just go. You're done." So it ended like 3 years early, which was huge.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I moved to Maine, and at that point, I was the trouble I'd gotten in. I had like 400 hours community service, and I chose to do it at the Goodwill, local Goodwill, because at the time my like business job deal was selling patchwork pants, backpacks, and pipe pouches on the internet. That was like I had like a website, sold like patchwork pants and stuff, sold them at fish concerts and shit. That was like my jam. So I chose like you could do community service here, there, or there. And so the thrift shop is where I started getting all my corduroy because it was my job to separate it. So I would buy the used pants and skirts, cut that up and use that for the fabric for the pants. So that was like the jam. So like
cheap material,
very cheap, and it was usually really in pretty good condition. So like I'd pick through it. But they offered me a job when I was done with the community service. They're like, yo, like, you know everything about this place. You should work here. And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm like more than done. Like, thank you. But so I moved there.
More than done. yeah, I appreciate it. But
like we all
after
had
400 hours, we're good.
Yeah, of like unpaid, just sorting clothing and whatnot. But so that was a good stint. So I combined my patchwork clothing with my girlfriend who did the same thing. We combined our companies to be like one huge company. Okay. Because she did like female clothing. I did like pants and backpacks and like pipe pouches and shit. Right. So that's what got me to Maine. And I needed a job and didn't really have many skills. And I was thinking of what's kind of an easier job, you know what I mean? And I was thinking a breakfast place at night was like the move, you know what I mean? I was like, that must be easy, right? You know? Brilliant. So it proved to be very easy and very relaxing. So I worked the overnight shift at Dunk's, and I was like the drive-through guy who did like bagels and a little bit of finishing of the donuts. And that was my job for like 5 years. No kidding. And so that job was sweet because I would go in, work, 6 days a week. I was very dependable. I was like that guy. They loved me. The owner loved me. And, but they would give me time off to go to Fish concerts and shit. Okay. So if I wanted to take 2 weeks off, do a run of shows, he's like, as long as you come back, like everything's cool, just come back. And I'm like, no, I'm coming back as long as I can come back. And we're like, okay, we're on the same page. Yeah, like, I'm coming back.
You wanted to go back, he wanted you to be there, but sometimes you just needed that extra flexibility.
Yeah, and no other job had ever given that to me. So, I mean, it worked out really great. At some of these shows, I had run into these dudes selling grilled cheeses, and we just started hanging out, like, I don't know, I don't remember what really sparked the conversation, but I ended up just like kicking it with them. And then we become like friends, like seeing them at different shows over different time. And we become friends. They end up being glassblowers in Vermont. And so in the off season when like we weren't at shows, I would just go and watch them blow glass. It was in like the Mount Snow, yeah.
And had you ever blown glass before?
No, okay. I'd never seen it. I'd seen a few pipes on lot and, that was about it. Okay. I definitely had no idea what went into it. And I would go and just watch and never really expected to do it. I was just like, wow, that is amazing. Like, it was just cool just to see it happen. And,
I saw it once. I'm trying to think where we were. We were vacationing somewhere and just a small little pop-up shop outside at an event. And, they had big furnace going and they like watching the level of detail that goes into it because it's such a finesse art. Everything is, but really like a small mistake in that, and there's a lot of rework. From what I've seen anyway.
A lot of things are just a one-shot deal. You know what I mean? If you don't do it right that first time, going back almost just makes it worse and worse and worse.
So as an artist, do you have a problem with perfection at all?
No. I want things to look as real as possible. And I don't know I think I realize like perfection isn't really obtainable. And it doesn't mean I don't shoot for it. But I guess the perfect donut to me would be the one that looks exactly real. So I guess I am striving for that. But I don't know. The donut, is never a perfect circle. You know what I mean? It's meant to be a little this way, a little that way, like dough rises different ways. Yeah, you know what I mean? They're all the same, but yet they're all different. So, like, I don't know.
So one of the things that I say all of the time is like a rye motto is that it's a constant pursuit for perfection, knowing that it's not obtainable. Right. And there's a level of grit that you kind of, as an entrepreneur, need to embrace and get through and know. And so, I see a lot of entrepreneurs who are perfectionists and drives them nuts. It took me years to kind of figure out that sometimes the best project or the best finish work was imperfect. And some of those things are unique, and those characteristics are, to your point, collectors. They want one of one.
Yep.
Not
definitely.
one of a billion.
Right.
And so I've obviously checked out your Instagram and everything that you have, and it doesn't seem like there's any one piece that even really looks like another one.
Well, there's I'll do a bunch of large strawberry frosted with sprinkles.
Which is my favorite Dunkin' donut of all time. I don't like donuts. I won't eat a donut that's not strawberry frosted.
No doubt.
It's my favorite.
Doubt. Yeah, and that is by far the most popular donut I make.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like people have dubbed it the Homer because it's kind of like a Simpsons donut.
Right, because now there's pool floats and stuff.
Yeah, everything. I have some somewhere around here up there. Yeah, it's just it's amazing how donuts have taken over society. You know what I mean? And it's I'm pumped to be a part of that wave, but it's just they're everywhere. So.
And so go back to glass blowing and watching your friends work on this stuff.
Yeah.
And so did you start tinkering, or was the first thing you made was a donut?
Oh no, not even close. I would go there and watch, and that place had ended up closing down and everyone moved. And then a year or two later, one of the guys that worked there hit me up, and he's like, my girlfriend's gonna be going to Mecca up in Portland. We're both moving up there. I need somewhere to blow glass. And he's like, if you could provide me with somewhere to blow glass, I would teach you for free.
No kidding.
So I was just renting a house out on Allen Ave, which is right outside of town, and had a garage. So I was I had talked to my landlord. I was like, yo, can I do this? And he's like, sure. I was like, I'm going to put a window in the garage, and then we're going to put a fan in the window for ventilation.
Sure.
And he's like, if you do it, yeah. So the dude that taught me to make donuts, who was known as the Donut Man, that's what he wanted to be called.
Right.
So Donut Man comes over with a Sawzall, and we cut a hole in the side of this garage it's nothing. And on the way over, he'd found a window on the side of the street that had the bottom already broken out. Comes over, he's like, I found this. The bottom's broken already, or the top was broken, so we could just move it to wherever we needed it to put the fan in, because we're boarding up a fan in there. And we just threw it in, and we were good. Funny story. So my old roommate from there stopped by here just recently. I haven't seen him in frickin' 15 years.
Sure.
And we were talking. That garage, I ended up insulating with old bagel boxes. I took all the bagel boxes from Dunks, and we put plastic up, and then we just staple gunned all we just opened them all up, and it was just all, the walls were all just bagel boxes. And that was our winter insulation, which hindsight was just a fire trap. I don't know how the whole thing didn't just fucking go up. But I was careful.
You were one mistake away from an explosion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, thinking about it, if it's just surrounded in cardboard, playing on a flame, you know what I mean? What the fuck?
But you have to start somewhere.
You do, and I mean, ventilation was the most important, you know what I mean? That was health risks, that was it, we had fireproof stuff everywhere else, except, the walls.
Except the walls.
Yeah. But yeah, and then that was my start. And that I would work all night at Dunkin' Donuts from 7 at night till 8 in the morning, or not 8 in the morning, more 5 in the morning. And I'd come home, have a meal, and then my buddy would wake up early, come over, and we would start blowing glass.
No kidding.
And then, until noon, and then I would take a nap or sleep and then go into work, 7 or 8 that night.
And so for how long did you do that?
A minute, probably at least a year.
Okay.
My time frames usually are a little off because it was so long ago.
Right.
But yeah, it was a while. And that was just a routine. And there just came a time, we'd be sitting, me and the Donut Man, sitting at Dunks, 3 in the morning. All the donuts are made, and we're just puffing bowls and shit. And I'd be like, man.
Like everybody at Dunkin' Donuts at 3 in the morning.
Yeah. It was great. It was great. It was a pretty funny job.
Yeah.
It was a pretty funny job. But yeah, so I was just like, man, there needs to be a donut pipe. And I was like, I'd look through the internet and couldn't find a donut pipe. I was like, man, I really think I
Now,
should.
did you ever try smoking out of an actual donut?
No, I definitely
Not even
never
to this
did.
day?
No. I mean, I've only smoked out of an apple twice. I was kind of late to the party with that shit. It was really weird.
So one of my friends was telling me that they tried to make a soda can bong the other day, and they took video of it to show me how awful the attempt was. But you know, there was a meme this morning that I saw that was like, you think stoners are stupid? Tell them that there's nothing to smoke with. They turn into MacGyver real quick.
Exactly. And like, I think back to me in middle school, I was making pipes out of like exactly like some like wood, a freaking aspirin bottle, like a pen, you know what I mean? Like whatever we could like put together to make something cool. And like hindsight, like I've always been a pipe maker. You know what I mean? Like it didn't really click until recently where I was like, dude, even when I was like a kid, and I started smoking pretty early, but always just trying to make some cool pipe. It wasn't like we weren't really content with just this. Like we wanted, we're going to paint this thing, and this part's going to be green, and this was going to have this, and like a chamber over here. And so like I think it's always kind of been in me, and it's pretty amazing that I get to do it as a profession now.
That's awesome. So when you first started, what was your marketing really? Like how did you get the word out, and then what was the process of like getting those first few orders?
It was slow goings. The first year I was blowing glass, I was just making solid stuff. So like pretty much the first 6 months, it was just solid, little fish, little turtles, little pendants. The guy that was showing me really wanted to give me a base of how glass works, how solid glass works, and then, you know, a foundation to build off of. So I would go to the head shops he would go to, and he'd be like, oh, here are my oneies and spoons and whatever. And I'd be like, oh, I got some pendants. You know what I mean? Right. Oh, you want a fish? You know, and some people would buy them, some wouldn't. And like, it was enough.
Some would be like, cute kid, here's $20.
Pretty much. Like, there you go. Like, and you know, they're like, we have people that would buy these for whatever. You know what I mean? Like, oh, something for $15, they'll buy it.
Right.
So that got me through a little bit. And then I started making like oneies, like really gross outside worked oneies. And like, I would trade those for food at the Waken Bakery, which was like a restaurant, a breakfast restaurant head shop. It was like a good sized restaurant. That was open until like 3 and did breakfast and lunch. And then they had a little glass room in there as well. So
where was this?
This was out on 302, and they were there
like
for
towards
years.
Wyndham, or?
Exactly.
Okay.
It was like right before in the Westbrook line, and it was there for years. And it was just the spot. And he would, you know, I'd be like, hey, I'm a beginning glass blower. I just got done at work. I got going there at like 6 a.m.
Right.
You know, he'd be like, yo, like, you got some oneies, you know, you want to trade? And trade for the meal and then buy like $100 worth, you know, and I was doing them for like fucking $5 a piece.
Right.
But, you know, you buy 20 of them, that's like $100. That's like food, gas in my tanks for like oxygen, propane, and like a little money left over. So like little sales like that is what got me rolling, you know. When
did that transition into, you know, where you are today? Obviously there was, you know, a Forbes article that had to have brought, you know, some significant attention, and then, you know, just kind of the momentum. I mean, social media presence wise, I mean, obviously you're pumping some amazing content. So, you know, when did that kind of transition happen, and what do you allocate that to?
I think things really started picking, like the first donut was made in about 2007. Really gross looking, wasn't that good. People really weren't feeling it. Come 2010, 2012 is when, 2012, I believe, I only started making donuts. Like, that's all it was. There was enough of a demand and that was kind of a goal I had set, you know, years before, where I was like, I just want to make donuts. Like, I've always made such a variety of numerous different things. I was like, but donuts is like my passion. I would love to make this my jam.
Right.
So I really focused on them, still made all this other stuff. And then, you know, right around 2012 is when I started doing the donut bags as well. So every donut comes with a donut bag that's signed and numbered. Bags are printed locally here in Portland. And I feel like that really tied it in to give it like that like full feel, like the collector feel, like this is like a thing. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to feel like you're buying a donut. I want this to look like a donut. You're not smoking it. There's just a donut on your table.
Right.
You know, like I like it all. You can't tell it's a pipe unless you flip it over.
Sure.
You know, so I like that discreetness. But I don't know what really made it take off. Like the Forbes article was last year, and that was just saying, wow, you've been doing really good. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was like...
How long after that article came out, like, did you notice the impact it made?
I really didn't notice any impact from it.
Really?
In all honesty, yeah. Like, it was a great article, and a lot of people saw it, but, I mean, I've had a 3 to 4 month wait for like, to get an order for almost 2 years now. Okay. So it's just been how it's been, and I haven't really noticed an uptick, really. It was just like, almost non-pipe people are like, wow, good job. And pipe people are like, really, that's a way to give us a voice and show that we're not like lazy potheads. Like, we're doing something here.
And that's a lot of what Darren and I are doing with this podcast is, all of the people that we've had on the show, like they're all doing really cool things. And I was talking to Diane Russell yesterday. She used to be a state rep and she ran for governor in the state of Maine. And one of the things that we talked about is just kind of like owning your lane. Mm-hmm. And then finding the people around you that own theirs and kind of making this collaborative masterpiece, really. Yeah. Which is clearly, what you did with, donut bags and boxes and really finishing that, but knowing that, like, you're not going to be a bag printer.
Right.
Right.
And
so Darren and I really wanted to kind of create this outlet where we can showcase the people grinding to literally, and then also those that have, kind of taken those risks for a long time, because I think that now more than ever, it's really easy to be like, this is cool, this is exciting, this is a lot of fun to talk about, but you've been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah.
When did it start feeling cool to talk about, or even safe to talk about?
I mean, well, you look at like 2002, right around that area, when I was starting, there was that Operation Pipe Dreams. Tommy Chong gets busted, pipe makers are going to jail, and everyone's like living in fear. And this is right when I'm getting started. So like I've always had this like stigma of like being in the shadows, making my stuff, getting it out there, but not trying to be too loud about it.
Right.
And once like places started going medical and laws started getting a little easier on things, people can kind of come out and, can be a little more out in the open with everything. And I mean, that's when things started picking up. But it's hard to say. Like, there were so many years of just struggling and just barely getting by, but knowing this is what I want to do. This is what I enjoy. And, 2004 to 2009, 10, 8, 9, 10, like, those were like, I was just broke, working pipe to pipe, you know what I mean? Spoon to spoon, and just getting by each week.
So it took a lot of grit and commitment to stick with it to get to the point where we are today.
Yeah, I feel like, a lot of people, you have a couple days where your power's out and but all you're worried about is making sure you have oxygen and propane so you can still blow glass, you know what I mean? But it was a struggle, but I think that's what made me so strong today, is going through all that makes me appreciate where I am and not want to be there again. So that really does fuel me. Like, I was doing that and I was still I love blowing glass. Right. I may be broke, but at least I'm happy doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I never saw the brighter days like today, but it was just keep your head down and keep working. Things will happen, I don't know what, but I was just keep getting better, keep fine tuning this, keep making stuff and
And I say again, often authenticity sells. And so if you're going to do what you're passionate about and you're going to take those risks and grind it out, at some point, you're right. You will fall in place, and you will find your place in whatever it is that you're passionate about. But sometimes, and it's hard for entrepreneurs because you see some that go do it in 2 years.
Yep.
And then you see others that it takes 40.
Yep. Or that don't do it at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? That end up just dropping out.
Yep.
And, there's a high turnover rate in the glass world because some people will see glass blowers doing it and be like, oh, I could do that. I could make a $3,000 piece. And then they buy all the stuff, spend thousands of dollars learning it. And then they're like, oh, this is really hard. This is going to take me years to get to that point. And then at that point, where will I be? Will I be able to sell those pieces? Will I be making it? What's my idea?
Right.
And so there's a high turnover rate. But it's just about persistence and following your passion. all those years I was broke, I was still making donuts, and people just weren't buying them. You know, like this donut is from 2011, and like I kept this one because no one would buy it. Like all the stores I went to, no one would fucking buy it. They'd buy all the other pipes, and they're like, "What's that shit?" You know, and not like, you know, not like, "What's that shit?" They're just like, "Oh, that won't sell. I'm not gonna buy that," type of thing. And I'm like, "Cool," but I would keep bringing it. And after a while, I was like, "Well, I'm keeping this. Like, if you guys don't want this, I'm keeping this."
Right.
So this has just been like the reminder. Like there was a day, no one wanted them, but it's like I didn't let that kind of stop me. You know what I mean? You got to keep going.
And the thing is, if you enjoy it, you're not like, I know we all like to think that we're the only one of us in the world. That's not sustainable. So there's other like-minded people out there, and sometimes those niches are hard to get to. They're hard to find. And I think that especially with people like us, you know, a little eccentric, you know, that are kind of all over the place, sometimes it's kind of hard to find your people.
Yeah.
And, you know, but once you do and you kind of fall into that place, just like you are today, kind of an ambassador, you know, to speak for them. So you knew that there was people out there that liked donuts as much as you.
Well, I don't know if I knew that. I just was like, I like this. You know what I mean? I was like, if you guys, because like there was times like, and even, you know, sometimes now where I can't even afford to keep some of the pieces that I make because they're so expensive. You know, it's like I got to pay bills. I can't keep, you know, a $3,000 piece. I actually have to sell this because I have bills to pay. You know what I mean? But this was just like, it was kind of, I don't know if it was like spite, but it was like, hey, fuck you guys. Like this, like, and you know, at the time I was just like, I'm keeping this. Like, you know what? Like this is out of my case now. Not for sale anymore. Right. I'm wearing it. And I didn't foresee it. Like I consider this like my lucky donut. Like I've worn this every day. I'd say other than like 4 days out of forgetfulness since 2011. Like this doesn't leave my neck. You know what I mean? So, and it's like, it does remind me.
You can tell that gratitude is still there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I couldn't be any more thankful to my collectors and shop, you know, the shop owners and everyone that supported me because, you know, I just never knew. You know what I mean? Like you say, like, but you knew. It's like I never thought of success. I never thought of people wanting my stuff and not even think about it. I just only thought of just keep working. Right. Like I didn't have that future vision. It was just like, nah, keep working today. You know what I mean? And like, and then like Facebook, social media really helped. I think social media was a good jump off, you know? Sure. Like I got on MySpace, like just to really like, to really do it. Yeah, just to see where we're at. I did a MySpace page, which I didn't even want to do, but people were like, yo, you got to get down there for your glass. So I had a KGB glass MySpace page. You know, it's only my pipes and stuff. And then I think Facebook came around, and then like I started doing Facebook, and then I got a lot of sales, shops all over the country, collectors. Like there was a lot. Being able to talk to your collectors one-on-one through, you know, social media is huge for artists. You know what I mean? Like that's how the pending came to be. Was I was selling pipes on like Etsy, which I don't think you're supposed to do, but I was doing it. And then someone hit me up and they're like, yo, would you make a small one that wasn't a pipe, that was a pendant? And I was like, well, I'm a pipe maker. You know, I was like, but if that's what you want, I'll make it. So I make it, post a picture of it, and people just lose it. They're like, wow, I need one of those. And I was like, oh, okay.
Here's like, the order form,
if
bitches.
If you guys want these, I'll make them. You know what I mean? Because like, I've always listened to my collectors where it's not really like kind of what we were saying before. It's about what I like, but it's also about like what people like. Like I'm still making stuff for other people. Like I'm making stuff that I want to make, but I still appreciate input of what collectors would like to see. You know what I mean? Like it's a two-way street. So that's where the pendant came from. And now, I mean, pendant's so popular. Like I sell a lot of pendants, and it's great that you don't have to smoke. You can be anybody. You can wear it anywhere. And it's like, you know, you see someone with a donut pendant out in the wild, and you're like, oh, hey, like it's a great conversation thing. It's like nice.
You know where that came from.
Yeah, and it's
Speaking of which, where did KGB come from?
KGB was an old nickname of mine from back in the day. I've had like a lot of nicknames over the years, and that was my when I was playing a lot of poker back in the day to supplement my income. In the winters in Maine, there weren't really many pipe sales. You know what I mean? And when that's all you're doing, it's tough. So I was playing back in those days, there was a huge poker boom. So I was playing a ton of Hold'em, and KGB was like my poker name in various poker circles. So Operation Pipe Dreams happens, and I used to sign my pieces with my last name. And then that happened, I got all freaked out. And I didn't want my names on pieces because I don't want to go to jail or some shit. So started putting that name, which was my poker name at the time, KGB, just as like I had to put something on there, you know? And like hindsight, if I knew, like, and that's one of those things, like if I pictured this to be as big as it was, I probably would have come up with something different than KGB. But it was just like a nickname, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go with that. And it stuck. And at one point I was like, well, I guess keeping KGB, like, kind of is what it is.
And at some point it's branded.
Yeah. And now it's like, you see a donut and it's like a KGB. You know what I mean? Like, is that a KGB?
That's awesome. So what's next?
What is next? I never really know. I
saw the look up from back there.
You know, with the lathe, so there's a lot of new products with the bongs. So I've been doing a lot of bongs, and that's a whole new aspect to the glass products that I've been doing. So that's pretty sweet. But, you know, I never really know what's next. I just keep plugging away, you know, doing the thing. I'm going to be at Boston, I don't know if it's like Freedom Fest or Hemp Fest. I'm not sure what they call it. I think it's like Freedom Fest next month with the Witch Doctor. And we're going to have a little tent down there, and I'll be there with some glass and stuff. So that's pretty sweet.
Do you do a lot of your own shows? Like, will you do concerts and festivals and fairs? Or
not as much. Not really. Pretty much everything's just to stores. I do my yearly glass drop, which is on National Donut Day, which is Donut Fest. So I'm 6 years deep in those, and that's where this year I did it here actually. But that's like my yearly drop, and then we've done Miss Sarah and I have done a Halloween drop in Salem, Mass. the past 2 years, but I don't think we're doing it this year. But
I heard that like entire area is bonkers during Halloween.
Oh, it 100% is.
Oh, the air?
Yeah, it's getting a little warm. But yeah, and that's why it was great doing the Halloween series in Salem, Mass. At the Witch Doctor, because it was just the perfect atmosphere. And that was pretty sweet, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, what do you forget?
I just want to chime in. It's not what he forgot. It's just he's
Humble?
He's a humble and he's a natural entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like I actually have like I went to school for entrepreneurship and small business management. So I have like the textbook idea of what you're supposed to do.
Sure.
And for the past 10 years, I've just watched him, and he doesn't think he knows what he's doing, but unintentionally, he is planning 3 steps ahead. It used to be 1 day ahead, but then he started setting 1-year goals, 2-year goals, 5-year goals, and they were very loose.
Right.
But that always like progressing as things went. So you do always take the next step.
True. Yeah, and you know, I've been thinking like, man, the setting goals, I feel like as far as entrepreneurs and like glass artists, whatever your thing is, setting goals is so important. You know, like I'd be like, I just want to set goals to have these tools. You know, I just want to have better shears, a better kiln, and then that's my goal. And I would work to that, achieve that, and be like, okay, what's next? And then like, okay, now I want to have this, this, and this. And then I'll work, and then achieve those goals. But then like lately I've been kind of like, well, I guess the lathe was my latest goal, which was huge. And I got it this year. So I achieved it. I wanted that. I was looking for one for like 2 years, saved up a bunch of money, got it. And now I'm learning to use it. So that was like my latest like goal achievement type of thing.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm not sure what's next.
So what does an average day look like for both of you?
Probably wake up around 8, 9, 10, depending on the night before. You know, grab some breakfast. We live like blocks away. We live on Exchange. Okay. So it's just a quick zip over here. And usually just come right in, take care of mailing, any emails and such. Check on the lizards, make sure they're doing okay.
Yeah, tell us about the lizards.
These are the shop skinks, Santos and Gertrude. And we're here so much that, you know, Gertrude was at home, but we decided to bring her in. And Santos, I just got 7-8 months ago.
And Gertrude is 15?
15 years old, yeah. Sarah's had her for how long? 12 years or so?
13 years.
12, 13 years.
That's awesome. So the children of the shop.
Pretty much. Like, I'm here so much, like, I kind of wanted life. We have a lot of plants and stuff, but we'll come in, around noon, 1 o'clock, turn the kiln on, might go over and bowl a game while the kiln's warming up, come back, and get
Who's
to
the better
work.
bowler?
Me, but last time we bowled, she did beat me, for the record. So
Brian bowled when he was young, growing up.
Yeah.
He was really good, and then he was able to find it again with the fun bowling league. So he stopped for a while, but
I did the candlepin bowling league in like 3rd and 4th grade.
Yep.
Over at Vacationland Bowling, which I drove by Route 1 the other day, and now it's gone.
Is
So,
it? See,
yeah.
I assumed it was still there because I know there is candlepin somewhere around.
There's Big 20, I
Big
think,
20, that's what it
in
is, yeah.
Scarborough.
Yeah.
And I mean, Vacationland was right, neighbors to us at the drive-in, so it was kind of fun, like us, Akbog and Funtown, and them, like, we could put together like a little package for people, just like, just like a Southern Maine attraction pass, and, all of us would like maybe have like 50 on hand and just sell them or whatever. And it was awesome because like go do all those things, and then you can come to me. Those three had to fight for people's
But then at
attention.
night-
But at night there was only me, so it worked out perfect.
Exactly.
Exactly. I love that's one of the reasons I'm coming back to Maine is I just miss that like small business. Everybody needs everybody.
The
mentality.
camaraderie, yeah.
that's a big thing I think with his success too, is that he
Huge.
had his ideas and he had the work ethic. Sometimes he just needed someone to bounce the idea off of. And people like me and other the shop owners in the area have been really supportive. All they have to do is like, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Right.
And then I feel like a lot of what he needed was just someone to bounce ideas off of, and they were all like ideas that he came up with. It's just people were just encouraging and helping him like actually get to those ideas that you had in your head to make them actually happen.
Yeah, like the main shop owners, the main businesses, like I wouldn't be where I am without their support over the years. Like there must be, like Green Bear 420, Herbal Tea and Tobacco, Blazing Ace, Aware, Exhale Smoke Shop,
And
the Higher Concept, the Smoke Rings, Primo, all these shops, there were even a couple porn shops. What's that one? The Treasure Chest. Treasure Chest used to keep me fucking fed, you know what I mean? By buying pipes.
Right,
pipes.
of course.
But, shit was crazy. Like, I was never too good to sell anybody glass, you know what I mean? And, but all those shops, like, certain head shops would prepay like $300 for glass so that I could pay my rent and bills and have money, you know what I mean? And, like, that goes a long ways. To me, personally, it went up so long that, like, they would do, like, obviously it wasn't a big deal to them, but just the gesture of doing it,
Because it's one of those things, like, sure, but they also don't have to.
Right.
When I have Brian, give me my glass.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And, like, I have nowhere else to turn, and I'm like, boy, I would like to eat tonight, you know what I mean? Like, these guys are like, yeah, like, we need you healthy so you can keep going, and
that's awesome.
Kept buying glass, and, like, it's, like, I've branched out all over the country now, but the main, shop owners, the main vibe, is just amazing.
It's home.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm from Liverpool, but I've lived here officially longer than I lived there. Okay. And like, I know I'm not a Mainer, but I definitely consider this home.
From away.
I mean? Yeah. But I mean, I respect Mainers. I get it. I'm definitely not a Mainer, but like, I'm like a Portlander for sure.
That's right. That's fair.
But yeah, like the support was amazing.
So how far is your glass reaching now?
I mean, all over the world. I know there was a shop in like Japan that had some. I get hit up from the UK, from Peru, Puerto Rico. There's a collector in Denmark. It blows my mind, and like back to like when things popped off, like I didn't know what Instagram was back in the day, and then someone was like, oh, like you got tagged on Instagram. And I was like, what's a tag? Like, what is this shit? So I type in my name, and there was hundreds of KGB Glass hashtags.
Yep.
And I was like, holy shit, I got to get an Instagram account.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, there was like a buzz out there before I even really set that into place. Like the donuts spoke for themselves. You know what I mean? And I think my biggest job, once I got them looking good and you know, to where I really liked them, they've always evolved, but to like where I was happy with them at the time, it was just about putting a name with the donut, you know, like people saw them and didn't know who it was. So it was like tricky to make sure people knew who made the donut. And that's where like the bag comes in. It's like, oh, it's a KGB glass. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole deal. And like, they're all signed and dated, but people might not see it. You know, things get passed around. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, who made this? I love this thing. So, yeah, social media helped so much just for that whole branching. But word of mouth too, you know, like just word of mouth in the cannabis community is huge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And you always respond. There's years, I mean, back even when you had an Etsy account way back when
Etsy like first started.
We didn't have money for a webpage, and it was just like he would always respond.
And that's something people have always really, and even lately, it's felt really good hearing shop owners say it about like my customer service and how I'll every DM I get, every message, email, I'm responding to it personally, and like I'm taking into consideration what's said, whether it's happy, not happy, desires, anything. You know what you should do's. You know, it's like I don't always do it, but I'm gonna listen. You know, because feedback. I'm grateful that people will throw it out there. You know what I mean? Because you're helping me. You know, like no matter what it is, it's like thank you. Like I want to know what you think.
Whether you use it or not right now, it could be inspiration for something else later.
Yeah, for sure.
Hear about like the human and the people, and it's like when I was selling his glass behind the counter. The second I told someone it was a former baker who was making the donut, it's like people were connected, and all of a sudden, I'm a baker. I'm going to school for culinary. I want that donut.
Right.
It's like just giving a little bit of you, and you're willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a huge thing.
That's awesome.
But you don't even notice it.
I was just
the humble pie, man. It gets you. You know, it's very intoxicating when people are so humble about their work, and it feels good to hear the story.
So he genuinely, she had to really chime in there because he's so humble about everything. He just, I want to talk to everybody that wants to talk to me, but he's busting his butt. No joke. I mean, I've known Brian for some time now. And first of all, try to schedule with him. It's impossible. Try to order something. Like he's there. He's always working. And his pieces are just, they're fantastic. I mean, we see them everywhere. But what people don't see is how hard he works and then how grateful he is. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I think this is something really unique to this industry. True. And as this industry continues to grow, I think we're finding that there is a good way to do business.
Right. It's great, man, to hear that stuff. And it's true that there's sort of a feeling because the industry has to work so hard to come out of the shadows. It encompasses everything that we do in the industry, and it really sort of underpins like this really important value of humility and gratitude. And
gratitude, I think, is the biggest component of this, right? Because what you're finding is a lot of individuals that are really good at something, and then they're finding a way to bring that to the cannabis industry rather than being like, oh, I want to, this is a great opportunity. I want to join, the Cannapreneurs Club or what have you. They're figuring out that we all need each other in order to win. This industry is budding, and together is the only way that we're going to win, because the battles that he has to face as a peacemaker peacemaker.
That's really good. That's really good.
I'm pretty proud of us.
I like that. That's a cool closing statement too.
Yeah, I mean, it totally got derailed on whatever thought we did have, but peacemaker, we're going to start using that. Speaking of peacemaker, let's end it here. Puff, puff, peace.
Puff the magic donut.
Lived at KGB.